Hey guys, I just want to take a moment to go over the problems on the Unit 5 review. Alright, you should have got it from the sub today. So, factor 4x cubed minus 24x squared minus 64x. Step 1, factoring ever. Factor out the greatest common factor. So 4x, that gives us x squared minus 6x minus 16. Okay? And so now, what we can do is we can tic-tac-toe that right there. So we draw ourselves our tic-tac-toe box. Okay? We put our quadratic term right here. We put our constant term right here. And we multiply those two. So we get negative 16x squared. So now, I need two numbers that multiply negative 16, but add to negative 6. Yeah, negative 8x and 2x. Absolutely. So then we say x squared and negative 8x, what do those have in common? X squared and 2x, what do those have in common? X, negative 8, positive 2. So you get x minus 8, x plus 2. So then the entire factored form, don't forget about this first 4x. So you have 4x, then you have x minus 8, x plus 2. So then this factored form actually has three factors, okay? It has the factor of 4x, it has the factor of x minus 8, and it has the factor of x plus 2. Well, you can even argue that 4 and x are individual factors, so you can say it has four factors. 4, x minus 8, and x plus 2. All right? Moving on. Let's go to problem 2. It says simplify the square root of x to the 6th, y to the 10th. Okay, here's the trick I'm going to use. I'm going to write this guy out. So x to the 6th is x 6 times. 5, 6. And y to the 10th is y 10 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, this is square root, so that means we do 1 for 1. 1 dies, 1 lives. 1 dies, 1 lives. 1 dies, 1 lives. 1 dies, 1 lives. Okay? Y's, same thing. 1 dies, 1 lives. 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 So, we have 3 x's that are living and no x's left underneath. So that gives me x cubed. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 y's that are living and no y's underneath. So we get x cubed times y to the 5th, and there's nothing left underneath the square root, so then that's our answer. Okay? Number 3, the total of two polynomials is that long thing. If one of the polynomials is this long thing, what is the other polynomial? Okay, total. That's the key word here. The total. That means sum. That means we're adding stuff together. Okay? This is the final answer. So basically, we added this guy right here with something else to get this guy right here. So just think about this step by step. You have 2x to the 4th. You need to add something to it to get 6x to the 4th. What would that be? 4x to the 4th. Okay? Now go to the x cubed. We already have 3x cubed. We need 7x cubed. That's right. We would need another 4. So 4x cubed. Okay? We have a negative 2x squared. We want a total of 2x squared. Now think carefully. We have negative 2x's. We want positive 2x squares. We would need 4x squares, right? Because by having 4x squares, and when we add it to the negative 2x squared, that would give me a positive 2x squared, okay? We have a positive x. We want a positive 4x. So how many more x's do we need? That's right, 3. We have a negative 5. We want a positive 7. So we need to add 12 to it. That's right. Because if you add 12 to the negative 5, that gives you the positive 7. So bam, there's your answer. 4x to the 4th plus 4x cubed plus 4x squared plus 3x plus 12. All right, let's go to problem 4. What is the remainder? Divide this guy by this guy. Okay. So first off, I'm dividing by x minus 2. That's a linear term. So that means I can divide via synthetic division. So first thing I do to do synthetic division is I take what I'm going to divide by. I set equal to 0. I solve, so I get x equals 2. All right? That's what I'm going to use to do my synthetic division. Then I list out my coefficients, 2, negative 5, 3, 8. All right, so always carry down the first guy, multiply. add, multiply, add. Sorry, that's a positive one. I added that wrong. Multiply, add. And what was the question? What is the remainder? So the remainder is just 10. And we're done. All right. Moving on to problem 5. What is square root of 63x to the 9th, z to the 6th, written in the simplest form? Okay, so that means first thing I'm going to do is draw myself a big square root sign. And I'm going to break down every one of these down to its base components. Okay, so let's think about what 63 would be if I broke it down. Let's see. You think, what, 7 times 9? That'd be correct. And then 7 can't be broken down, but 9 can be broken down to 3 times 3. So I'm going to write 7 times 3 times 3. And then x to the 9th, that means I have 9 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then z to the 6th means I have 6 z's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now we're just going to do it's square root, so we know 1 has to die in order for 1 to live. Well, there's only 1 7, so there's no reason for it to sacrifice itself if someone's not going to go free, so we're just going to leave it there. So we have 2 3s, so 1 dies, 1 goes free, and we have plenty of x's, so 1 dies, 1 goes free, 1 dies, 1 goes free, 1 dies, 1 goes free. 1 dies, 1 goes free. Now, we have this remaining x. There's only 1, so he's not going to kill himself for no reason, so he's just going to hang out. So now we go to z's. 1 dies, 1 goes free. 1 dies, 1 goes free. 1 dies, 1 goes free. And that's all the z's. So what do we have outside the square root? Well, we have a 3. We have 2 x's, 3 x's, sorry. We have 3 x's, so that'd be x cubed. Okay. And then we have 3 x's. Did I miscount that? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 x's. Sorry, I did miscount that. Hopefully you were like, Miss Miller, you messed it up. Miss Miller, you messed it up. All right, we have 4 x's. And then, how many z's do we have? 1, 2, 3. 3 z's. 3 z's. And no z's are left over. Now, did we have anything left over in here that did not die? Yes. We had an x and a 7. So we get the square root of 7x. Bam. 3x to the 4th times z times the square root of 7x. That's what we want. All right, next problem. Number 6. Consider the function f of x is equal to negative 3x cubed minus 2x squared minus x minus 2. What is the quotient when dividing by x minus 2? Okay, so we're dividing by a linear term. So that means I can use synthetic division. So first, you set what you're dividing by equal 0, so x minus 2 equals 0, so x equals 2. Okay, so that's the number that I'm going to divide like this by. Now I write down my coefficients, so negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, negative 2. Carry down the negative 3, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, that's what, negative 34, add, that gives me negative 36, and it says, what is the quotient when dividing? So, this last number is always our remainder, this next number is our constant, this next number is the coefficient on x, this next number is the coefficient on x squared, so we could write that the quotient is negative 3x squared minus 8x minus 17 minus 36 over, what did I divide by? Because that's my remainder, right? So it's still being divided by x minus 2. Alright. Number 7. What is the linear factor of the polynomial? So that just means I need to factor, okay? I have 4 terms. Ding, 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 4 terms. That means that I need to factor by grouping. So we would look at the first 2 and then we look at the second 2. X cubed and 5x squared. What do they have in common? X squared. So then that gives me x plus 5. Alright. Minus 4x minus 20. What do those two both have in common? That's right, a negative 4. So that gives me x plus 5. So both of these terms now have an x plus 5 in common, so I can factor that out. And then I get x squared minus 4. Now, I can keep going and actually factor x squared minus 4, but I don't need to, because what was the question? What is the linear factor? So I'm looking for the factor that has x to the first power. Boom! That's the linear factor, x plus 5. Okay? So, problem number 8. It says multiply. So we're going to multiply this guy to this guy. So we do first to first, first to second, first to third, second to first, second to second, second to third. So n times n squared, that's n cubed. N times 2n is 2n squared, so plus 2n squared. N times negative 5 is negative 5n. Negative 1 times n squared is negative n squared. Negative 1 times 2n is negative 2n. Negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. And now we just simply put like terms together. There are no other n cubes, so I just write n cubed. 2n squared minus n squared is plus n squared. Negative 5n minus 2n is minus 7n. And then plus 5. Ta-da! Done. That's all. Okay. Moving on to problem number 8. I'm sorry, problem number 9. Factor completely. X cubed minus 27. Ooh, this is the difference of cubes. Alright, so yesterday I did a sum of cubes. Alright, this is the difference of cubes. Minorly different. Very, very, very small difference. Alright, so first off, what could you cube to get x cubed? Hopefully you're like, oh yeah, x, duh. What could you cube to get 27? You think for a second and you realize, oh, 3. So then, how do you factor this? Well, you say x minus 3 times, since it was minus, that means everything over here is going to be pluses. X squared plus x times 3, which is 3x, plus the second term, which is 3 squared, so that's 9. And we're done. That's all. You can't factor this piece ever. So this is as far as this guy can factor. Alright, let's go to number 10. Alright, number 10, divide this guy by x minus 2. Great, we've already done a problem like this before. You should already be like, oh yeah, x minus 2, that's linear. So I can use synthetic division. Now, if you prefer long division, go for it. You can use long division. But I'm going to say x minus 2 equals 0, and I'm going to get 2. So then I know that 2 is the number I use for my synthetic division. And then I get negative 6, 18, negative 7, negative 10. Carry down, it's negative 6. Multiply, gives me negative 12. Add, that gives me a negative 6. Nope, I'm sorry, that gives me a positive 6. 2 times positive 6 is 12. So that gives me a negative 5, positive 5. Why do I keep wanting to say negative? I'm sorry, positive 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Negative 10 plus 10 is 0. So no remainder, that's nice. So then we get negative 6x squared plus 6x plus 5. Because remember, the last number is always your remainder. The next number is always your constant. Then your coefficient on x. Then your coefficient on x squared. Okay? Moving on to problem 11. Use graph and determine the factors of this guy. Okay, so first off, quick pause. We don't have our calculators. So if in class you can't get to this problem today, I get that. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. I'm still going to show you how to do it. But again, just be aware that we don't have our calculators right now. So it's not a big deal if you can't get to it. Okay? In class. Now on the test day, we'll have calculators. So you're going to need to know how to do it. So maybe on Thursday or Wednesday when we get our calculators back, we can make the magic happen. So x cubed plus 2x squared minus 9x minus 18. We get graph. Okay, so first off, how do I determine the factors? Well, I can do that by finding the zeros. Okay, so it's important to know what are my zeros. Well, it looks like across the x-axis here, here, and here. So there are my zeros. My zeros are just where I cross the x-axis. Alright, so first off, we know there's 3, so let's see if we can find them on our table real fast. So it looks like we found 1. X is 3, because it's when I cross the x-axis, right? So we know y should be 0. So there's one of my answers. It's 3. One of my zeros, not one of my answers. Negative 2 and negative 3. So our 3 zeros, so I'm going to write z to represent zeros, were 3, negative 3, and negative 2. Okay. Now it says determine the factors. What you do is you work backwards from your zeros to determine your factors. How did I get a 0 of 3? Well, I set something equal to 0, and then I got x equals 3. Okay, so let's work that backwards. Let's move the 3 back over. So then one of my factors would be x minus 3. The same thing happened with x equals negative 3. Some point in time, I solved something, and I got x equals negative 3. Well, let's move it back over, so now it's x plus 3 equals 0. So then that means that x plus 3 is a factor. as well as x plus 2. We got x plus 2 from the negative 2. Okay, same idea. At some point in time, I had something that x equaled negative 2, so if I move it back over, it's x plus 2 equals 0. Okay? All right, number 12. Okay, we've never done a problem like 12 in class, but that's because, honestly, guys, this problem is just a calculator problem. We don't need to not use a calculator. We're more than welcome to use a calculator. So, it just says 125 raised to the 2/3. So, 125 raised to the 2/3. 25. Bam. That's it. That's all that problem's going to be looking for on that test. It's a super stupid easy problem. Okay. 13. We have never done a problem that I phrased it like this, but we have done a problem like this. Okay, so let me talk about it. Convert to a rational exponent the fifth root of 3 to the 4th power. First off, what does it mean to be a fifth root? What is the power I actually have there? Because remember, square root was raising something to the 1/2 power. And then most of you guys realize that cube rooting, okay, so like cube rooting was raising something to the 1/3 power. So then what do y'all think the fifth root is? That's right. It's raising something to the fifth root. It's raising it to the 1/5 power. Okay, so then what do we know powers raised to powers do? Multiply. So we know 3 to the 4th raised to the 1/5, the 4 and the 1/5 multiply, okay? So what is 4 times 1/5? Well, 4 times 1/5, well, it's just 4 over 1. You multiply top to top, that's 4. Bottom to bottom, 1 times 5, that's 5. So you get 3 raised to the 4/5. Whew, hard, huh? Okay, guys, that's all the problems. If you have any questions, please send me a reminder, send me an email, get a hold of me whenever you can. All right. I will not have tutorials Thursday. I should have it Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday afternoon. I do not have it Wednesday morning, and I do not have it all on Thursday. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys.